Okay, so hello everyone, welcome to Meshery Build and Release call. And today is January 11th, and this is a specific call for Meshery project where we would be discussing different enhancements and progress made by different community members on areas which are specific to DevOps related items, like whether it's workflows, unit testing, integration testing, E2E testing, or anything that is generally not discussed in development call. Those things we discuss in Build and Release call. And yeah, so we have a couple of things to discuss. Like in case you have anything to discuss, whether it's your PR, your issues, any suggestions you have for enhancement, make sure you add it in the agenda item. I'll share the link in the chat and ensure that you also add your names in the meeting minutes. And yeah, and there's one tradition that we have in wherein we ask all our newcomers to introduce themselves to the rest of the community. Also, feel free to turn on your webcam if you can. So I think Chirag, are you joining for the first time? Would you like to introduce?
Yeah, actually, this is my fourth meeting. Hello everyone. I am Chirag Birada. I recently came to join this community. I am a Meshery community. Just exploring the thing on how the working and all. So in I saw issue on documentation, like writing tutorial. So someone can means give more suggestions. So where can I experiment and learn the machinery project? So I can write the documentation. So just exploring how to use the machinery. So I need some more suggestions on that.
Is documentation as in setting up the project or what specific area?
Uh, the, um, uh, there is a issue named writing tutorial on Kubernetes using mesh or just a minute.
Okay. You can probably add that in the agenda item and we'll ensure that we discuss
Sure,
that.
sure.
Okay. Thank you. Next is Shubham. Shubham, would you like to introduce?
Yeah, so hello everyone. It's my third meeting call, and I I, I attended some of the meeting calls, and I just solved some of the issues on Meshery Docs. And I was just exploring Meshery website, so I just came to this creating a new cluster and visualizing your Docker containers. So I just want a little bit more information, like what all stuff can we do there, and what how like what all playgrounds are, what is a playground for, and like how do we create, and what do we do in that. Like I searched for a proper video, but I think video is not
Okay.
available. A
Okay.
complete video is not available for the teaching of the visual visualization of a Kubernetes cluster or something. So can you just give me a brief introduction of how to experiment stuff, and like how can we dive deeper and contribute more into that stuff?
Yeah, sure. If you can add that in the agenda item, we'll ensure that we discuss that after we cover up other things.
Yeah. The link of this is available in the chat. Yeah,
Yes, I've shared it.
yeah, sure. Thanks.
Thank you. Um, I think next is Avni Mittal. Would you like to introduce?
Yes, hi everyone. So this is my first meeting. I joined Meshery through the LFX mentorship yesterday only. So I'm currently looking at the repos and trying to gather how things work here.
Okay, so did you get a chance to set up the project and use it?
Not yet. I was hoping to do it at the list.
Okay, that's cool. Um, Next, I think Anand. Yeah.
Yeah, Anna,
Yes.
Anna. Yeah,
Okay.
hi.
So, would you like to
Yeah,
introduce?
this is my first meeting. I actually couldn't attend last week as I was traveling, and I have joined this through the LFX mentorship program, and I hope to contribute. And I just want to join this meeting to learn more about how this works here and what's going on. And like Avni, I haven't got the chance to set up the project yet, but yeah, I would be doing that at the earliest.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you for your introduction.
Thank you.
I think we covered everybody and rest are old timers. So let's start with our first item. Um, okay, so first thing is Meshery test plan. We go over this almost in every call so that every newcomers know like what different things we really want to test for Meshery, like how the process is, how different repositories have their own workflows for different testing, and like what to basically expect when you're writing a new testing framework, basically new test for a different component of Meshery. So it actually has a couple of test sheets, spreadsheets. So let's say if we discuss about this first one. So it actually gives an overview of different tests which test the specific component of Meshery, whether it's Meshery CTL. Meshery CTL is a CLI client of Meshery. It checks then it um actually under what platform the test should be running, then the scenario testing, and basically other basic items like what action should be performed, the expected outcome, any notes and guidance for any reviewer or contributor, and it's like whether it's what workflow is currently taking care of this test and whether it's currently covered by E2E tests or not. It's just a general guideline, and basically what we the ask here is like if you want to get started with contributing especially to the testing area, then you can actually choose any one of the things which are already not being tested. Let's say whether the system channel has a unit test or not. So I don't think, according to the spreadsheet, it doesn't. And if you want to get started by writing a small unit test which actually just checks, like Messenger has a command which sets the channel, and if it must have a function for that. So if you want to write a unit test for that function, whether it works perfectly fine or not, then you might want to consider taking this up. And what you can do is just create a quick issue which actually just has this all information, and you can comment on that issue, and any of the maintainers will assign it to you. So then you can start working on it. So that's just the overall thing of what this spreadsheet is all about. If I want to give a quick overview of one of the E2E tests, let's say if we go to Meshery adapters, actually why I always go over this specific one is because it's quite sophisticated and it actually touches a lot of different systems. So let's say if Meshery Istio adapter, first of all, it's a separate component of Meshery and it actually runs as a separate container if you are running in a Dockerized environment. And basically its work is to actually provide an interface to Meshery so that you can get all the different features of Istio service mesh so that you can deploy and undeploy Istio service mesh. You can get all of its add-ons like Prometheus, Grafana, Jaeger, and other things. And so yeah, you can check the code, it's quite small and it just talks to Meshi to gRPC, which is a communication framework. So if you go to this E2E test.yaml, so basically the work of this thing is, first of all, this actually runs on each release, as you can see, and it actually runs on each new pull request. And it also runs when we actually merge any of the pull requests to the master. So basically it work is to actually test whether all the functionality of this specific Istio adapter is functional. What that means is it will try to, this basically test what it does is start some small Kubernetes cluster in the GitHub hosted environment. Then it starts Meshery. Then it starts this container, Meshery adapter. Then Meshery CTL is used to basically start Meshery. Then Meshery is used to provision Istio service mesh. So when Istio service mesh provision, like there are different profiles for Istio service mesh. Like if you go for demo, their demo profile and a couple others. So basically, different profiles have different ports that come up. So Istio D, Istio egress gateway, ingress gateway. So basically, what this part of the workflow does is it actually asserts that this specific name for a pod, as you can see, this pod should come up in this namespace. So this is like a general thing when Istio service mesh is provision, you get all these pods in this namespace. So basically this part is actually testing whether when adapter provision the service mesh, whether these things came up or not. And if it does, then we just conclude that the test is passing and this part of the workflow is functional. So there are two things to know. First is like this is just a call to the main workflow, which is in Meshery. So if you go to Meshery and the .github.workflows test adapters, this specific file, you'll realize that it has these, it actually accepts all these values and then it runs the actual thing. So if you want to know what's happening, so if you go to actions and you go to E2E, you go to the first one. So as you can see, currently it's failing, I think, due to some small issue, but this is like you can check all the logs that adapter was started. Then we tunnel so that we can expose the minikube. Then we start mesh reports. When we check couple of things whether the service is exposed properly or not. Then we download a pattern file. Pattern file is just a design which you can use to provision different stuff in your cluster. Then we just apply this. Basically, what this does is that it internally tries to deploy Istio service mesh. So like, there are a lot of things here, but you can learn more about what the models are. So basically, Istio model registers different capabilities of Istio service mesh. So Istio mesh is one of the component. So yeah, then we just apply it and then we check the adapter logs, whether adapter was able to provision that, because when we deploy the design actually internally these capabilities are registered by a registrant, and Istio adapter is one of the registrant. So Meshery actually sends the request to the adapter and then adapter does its thing. So this basically is about that. Then you can check this checks the logs. Like we have added a lot of debug things just to ensure things are working, but none of most of things are not required. The main thing is this: check if all the expected resources have started. So what it does is that all the assertions that we made, as you can see, studio this is the resource type, and this is the namespace. We're checking whether all of them are coming or not in the specific places. So this is generally written in bash. So like as I was saying, if you go to this place, Meshery, you go to .github and you go to workflows. At the end, you'll see this. This is what is where actual logic is for everything. So if you want to explore this, you can. And so like now one thing is like once the test is completed, what we do is we actually this the best part about most of the components of Meshery is that they have self-documenting framework. What it means is like once a workflow is completed, the results of the workflow are automatically posted on Meshery docs. So if you go to docs.meshery.io, you'll go to compatibility matrix. Um, 1 second. I think docs has been restructured, so I cannot find 1 second.
Pranav, I think it's under concepts, then architectures and adapters.
Okay, thank
Not
you.
sure whether adapters.
No, like I'll give the link 1 second. Like I think this got restructured, so I cannot find it. But basically, there is a separate page where we have all the basically yeah matrix which actually tells which specific version for different adapter is passing or failing for different Kubernetes version and Meshery versions. So oh yeah, here it goes. So this was what I'm talking about. So I'll share the link. So basically what once the test was completed, we actually posted the results here. So if I go here, you'll see what the Meshery component was Meshery Istio. The release version was Edge. I'll discuss about what Edge is. The second is Meshery, which Meshery version was used for provisioning, like talking to Istio adapter and provisioning these resources. The second is basically service mesh because Istio is a service mesh. The second is which version of Istio service mesh was tested. And basically, Edge is like release channels. So Meshery actually have two release channels. One is Edge, other is stable. So basically, what release channels are is like different way of getting the latest features of Meshery. So if you, let's say, whenever we merge any PR, so we make an edge release. What that means is like it's like a beta version wherein all the features are available, but it's not guaranteed that everything would be working fine because it's not stable. So the stable release is when we like release a new tag. It's like dot, like as you can see, v.07.10. So that's a stable release, but everything that comes in the middle is the edge. So that's the difference. So yeah, and that's about it, about one of the example which I wanted to give. So anybody has any questions? Any questions? Anybody want to take up in this specific? Anybody want to look into this, like why this is failing to get started?
Uh, I have question.
Yep. Yes.
Yes, is this built over Kubernetes?
What can you please repeat?
No, I mean this Meshery infrastructure is built over the Kubernetes, AKS, AWS Kubernetes services.
Yeah, you can use any of your any distribution of Kubernetes with Meshery. It's not specific to any specific distribution. You can use AWS, GCP, Azure as you were mentioning. You can also use any open source Kubernetes thing as well, Minikube or kind
So,
of.
so is there any tasks for us to do it? I mean,
Yep. Can you
there
like,
is schedule or task schedule or something like that.
yeah, this is a test schedule which is run almost on every PR as I was discussing. When we make a new release, when we merge any PR, and yep, that's about it. You can check in this .github repository, this specific file. As you can see, it runs when you make a new merge in the master. We make a new tag. Basically, we release or when we merge the pull request. So as you can see, you can check it over here. Okay, so I'll pause for 2 seconds and then I'll move to the next item. There are no questions. Any volunteers to take up any of these? Okay, you can also like comment either on Slack or on discussion forum. So let's move to the other part of the spreadsheet, which is like this thing actually is about different workflows that we have on different repos. Basically, a workflow to build and preview site. So whenever someone, any contributor, any community member make a change to the website, then there's a workflow which automatically builds the changes in Netlify environment, and then it can actually be viewed directly on the PR. So we can like know before merging the PR whether whether it has all the desired changes or not. And then it's about different things like building Docker extension. Like if you're a Docker user and you might know that Docker has its own extensions. So if you search Meshery, you'll find the latest release of Meshery here as well. And you can just like if you want to get started with a Meshery, you can also like, just click on this install button and it will install Meshery and you can start using it. This is another like easy way of using Meshery. So yes, so this workflow is responsible for building this binary for the extension. Then we have other thing like ESLint, build and release, Golang CI check, which checks the whether the Golang code is formatted or not. Yes.
Yeah, sorry to disturb you, but why do we have a proper Docker extension for measuring? Like where it is used? Can you just explain me?
Okay. No, it's just another way of using Meshery. Like like you might have used some software which is available on your phone and is also available on website. It's very
Okay,
similar to that. So
okay,
if for users of Docker extension, Docker, they can directly use it from here. If you are like if you don't want to use here, you want to have your own hosted instance, then you can just download the binary from HCCTL and use it from there. So
okay.
mhm. It's just a different interface. the features are exactly same. Okay, so let's like go over one more workflow. If we go back to Meshery and let's, like I was just talking about the release channels. So let's see one of the stable release, how the stable release is made. Basically, how a new stable release channel gets its latest updates. So basically, whenever we make a new stable release, that is, we add a new tag, which could be like any new tag. Generally, we go use a similar version to, so that it's the industry standard, so you can read about it. But what this workflow basically does is it actually builds the documentation. So as I was talking about, Meshery has a framework which auto builds the documentation of different things. So Meshery has two kind of APIs. One is GraphQL, other is REST API. You can read about what GraphQL and what's the difference between REST and GraphQL, but basically each one has its own different spec. So we use Swagger for this thing, and we use, I think, like this GraphQL have its own different specification, and basically each GraphQL endpoint has different spec that is to be compatible by both backend and front end. So it has its own thing under this, so you can see what spec is under this folder. And for Swagger, you can just check under this thing. So you can go over there. So basically what it does is it builds the REST API, it builds the graphical docs, it auto commits that to the back to the master branch, because it makes changes to this this docs folder. And then we also built a binary, which I was just talking about. Binary is just like, we build the latest Docker image, because we push the image to Docker Hub, so we have to build it first. So we do that here. You can check the Docker file here, like what are the different services defined. And yeah, we build a stable, we add the specific tag like that is stable latest. We also build the playground latest, like we might discuss what playground is and what are different things in playground to know. But basically we also add a specific tag for playground, and then we just push it back to Docker Hub, so that anyone who is a user of Docker Hub can just do Docker pull and get this image and then run it in their containerized environment. Then we also build the CTL. So Meshery has different clients as we were talking about. One is scripts, so you can run Meshery directly in a workflow. There is a separate repo for that. The other is CTL, which you might know, Meshery CTL. You can do all the things from that thing. And the third is UI, which you might have seen in the playground. And so that's the three things. So CTL is actually built. We actually just build the binary, and what we do is it's under the separate Meshery CTL folder, which you can check. Under server, you'll find, look here. So you'll find it here. And Meshery CTL also has its own self-documenting stuff which you can read. So that's the other thing. But basically, we build a binary, we push it to our other repo, which actually makes a pull request to Homebrew. Because like Homebrew is another package manager from where we can download the binaries. So we have to push it there as well. So this part of the workflow handles that. Then we build the Docker desktop extension, which I was discussing. That is, this binary is also built from this workflow. And this thing, it actually is built from here. So it runs this file. And then once we do that, now if you are a Kubernetes user, then you might use Helm charts. So we also build the Helm charts and push it to a different repo, which is meshery/meshery.io. Yeah, so it's the standard way we just build these Helm charts. You can find it, like if you want to know what Helm chart, just search it in this repo. Then once everything, let's say everything is passing correctly, then what we do, we make a email to the mailing list, that this is the latest features which are adding in this workflow. You might have already received it if I'm not, if you are part of this developers.mystery.io. And yeah, let's say if something fails, like let's say if any of these part of the workflow fails, then we again send an email that this specific thing was failed and should be fixed, so that we can quickly fix it and it doesn't go under the radar. So yes, that was about it. Any questions on this? Anybody has any questions? Okay. So let's move back to our agenda item. And okay, I think next is from Shubham. Shubham, will you mind if we come to this after Yash work? And I think this will take some time, so that is why I was saying if we can completely
Yeah, sure.
fix.
Yeah, sure.
Yash, would you like to?
Yeah, sure. Just a second. Okay, so so I raised this PR two days ago. So previously we were discussing to publish the keys, and previously Archit made some effort to publish the keys by manually adding them to the docs.dearfile.io, and we discussed that it would be nice to have a workflow that automatically publish them. So what I actually did is that I just added the workflow to uh, take the data from the spreadsheet and publish that, and spreadsheet will be downloaded to the repo, and we can use the Hugo template to show that data. So this is same that we already doing mm, in the Meshery repo for having keys for the local provider. So yeah, it's kind of a similar thing. The only thing is need to be done is that I'm not sure about that. Like we should we make that schedule for every day, and to fetch the data every day for the new keys, or should we have a workload dispatch?
I think my like we might not have a lot of keys like just in couple of more days, so we can keep it to workflow dispatch. So if when we add any changes in the spreadsheet, then we can just run it from the dispatch. Otherwise, it's just not necessary, in my opinion.
So
Anybody
yeah,
has any other suggestions?
yeah, sure.
I was just thinking like, shouldn't we have the workflow in Meshery? And because ideally, I don't think like for other things like Meshery docs and layer 5 docs, we do it just from Meshery and not specifically from documentation repo. So just another suggestion, like not sure if necessary to change, but like just for consistency.
I didn't consider that part. I wasn't aware of that maybe, but I added it over here. I will look if that is the case. We can do like we already, because we are already doing we are already running this workflow in the Meshery, and we are
Okay.
already fetching this CSV in the Meshery repo. I was
Yeah.
thinking how we can fetch the same CSV file in the this doc repo so that we can show the data. So
Okay. So in Meshery, we already have the CSV.
yeah.
So probably you can just like add a step where it checks out this repo as well and it commits the changes. So we wouldn't have to do it again. So we can use the same workflow then.
Okay. Okay, thank you. For now, I will consider that and we'll
Mm.
get back. Okay, so yeah, that's my part. The other thing, like showing the data, how we are going to show the data in the docs.layer5.io in that particular area, Archit is helping me. So he might be helping us to show that and represent the data in the docs docs website. So yeah, that's pretty much about the update. So if there is any question.
Hi, Yash. Can you explain what are these keys for? Like, why do we need them?
Hmm. So let me go quickly and let me explain it. And so try to understand in that way. Keys are, every key represent a function. Let's say there is a key to view a design. I think if you are familiar with what design actually is, that helps you to deploy or provision things in your cluster, and you can design in the mesh map. So let's say if you have a key to deploy cluster. So what actually, let me give you a small demo. My So in a simple example way, key represents a action. So as I was saying, so take an example, deploying is an action. So we will be having a key for deploying thing. Viewing is something that we also perform. So let's say if you it's just taking time to load. Okay. So yeah, take an example of, let's say this is a design that you want to deploy in your cluster, and if you click on the deploy button, you will be able to deploy the this particular uh, design. But what actually I want is to uh, allow few people to deploy the cluster, but I don't want to allow everyone to deploy the cluster in my organization. So I will create a key uh, for this particular action, and I will have a keychain in which I can assign multiple keys. And take an example of a real life keychain in which you add the keys. Let's say if you have a main door in your home, and for main door you have multiple keys that you assign in your in the keychain, and you can give that keychain to trustable person. So same, take an example of in that way, and you can create a key for this particular thing, and you can create a keychain in which you can assign that key, and that keychain will be assigned to you in through a role. So I will assign that keychain for the admin role, and admin role is assigned to me. In that way, I will be able to perform this action. So key is something like help us to make sure that um, we have a more granular access instead of role based access. So we don't need to like add the condition every time, if else condition, let's say if you are admin or not in the UI. So key help us to have a more granular access. Even if you are the admin, we can make you can make sure who has this access to deploy thing, who don't. So I
Got
hope
it.
this helps a
Yeah,
little.
okay.
You can also
So
explore the docs.clearpipe.io for more information.
okay. Okay. So let me just rephrase. So we are using. So what you are doing is you are trying to import. So your workflow tries to import those keys. Uh, for what exactly?
Yeah. So the question that you asked is a good question. Like, what are those keys, and where can I see all those keys? So actually, what we are doing is that in the docs.layer5.io, we are publishing all the keys that layer 5 defaultly support, and those are added to a spreadsheet already. So what actually we are trying to do, instead of manually adding every key to the doc, we are adding a workflow to fetch all that keys from the spreadsheet, and that workflow will make sure that we are updating our doc site to have all those keys updated instead of manually updating every small key.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it.
You can read more about over here, like in this page. I will share the link. This will help you to understand better.
Yeah. Sure. Sure. I'll read. Thanks.
Yeah, that's all from my side. If there is any other question.
Okay, thank you, Yash. So I think next, Shubham, would you like to? Okay, so you wanted information on cluster. One second, I will share my screen. Okay. So we had one more item, but I think didn't join today, but we'll skip it for today. But basically, this item was about adding support for dark mode and light mode in Meshery snapshot. But let's discuss it the other time. But okay. and I wanted to discuss this. Okay, let's first discuss our playground. So the very first thing is, like, if you don't know what playground is, this is the first site that you should go into. That is, this site will have a video which you can check. Second is, if you fill this form, you will actually get access to this playground environment, and you can just read about different. If you have any questions, you should likely get the answer to that in this FAQ. But if you don't, then discussion forum is the best place to ask any of your questions. Okay, so once you are in the playground environment, basically playground is a hosted instance of Meshery. What it means is it has a connected Kubernetes cluster, and it runs on a quite beefy machine, which is like an Equinix metal, which a bare metal machine which has a lot of resources. So you can like deploy and deploy almost everything without running out of resources. So you don't have to worry about running Meshery on your local system. You don't have to worry about running a local Kubernetes cluster to test any of the features. So that's our couple of advantages. So as it comes up, let me show one logical thing which might help you have a little mental model about the deployment of that. So if you go to install, you go to playground, you'll go to Docker, you'll see one image, and basically that image actually shows the deployment design of what this playground is. So if you want to know about it, so actually it runs on two different VMs. One is Meshery O1, the other is Meshery O2. And this one is not exposed to internet, but this one is. Now this one is the one on the right, which is O2, is running on is have a running Kubernetes cluster, live cluster. And the second one just has Meshery binary running in Docker container. You will get all the adapters of Meshery as well. And yeah. So basically this one talks to this one internally, and this one is exposed to internet so that when you go to the link, so you can actually access the environment. So that's just one high level overview of this deployment. And like I just showed like how it is built in the workflow. Just one thing to note is that we actually this playground environment is cleaned almost every day. There's a workflow which actually cleans the cluster, basically deletes all the namespaces, then redeploys Meshery, and that's about it. It runs almost every day. You can check that in the github directory. So that I'll let you to explore. But now let's go to the environment. So basically, it's like you can basically, you can design the infrastructure. So based on which category of components you want to use, components are basically like these, like all these things have a lot of different deeper meaning. So I don't sure how many. There is actually a post here which actually explains models, component relationships. These are basically capabilities which are registered by different registrants, basically different handlers which Meshery can integrate with. So let's say let's give an example. Let's say Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is a model. It has a number of different components. The easiest one to know is namespace. So if I go to here, so see, this is a namespace. You can change the name, of course, but this is a namespace and it is a component of this model Kubernetes. So what it is like when let's say if I deploy this, let's say, yeah, you can just give the name, any name that you like, and you can validate it. Validation means like before deploying, you can know like whether your deployment of the design, the infrastructure would be successful or not. So it actually does a dry running behind the scenes. You can check which different like Meshery can be used to provision under different Kubernetes clusters. So you can choose which cluster you want to use toward deployment. This thing is basically an ad hoc connectivity test. That means like internally Meshery tries to reach out to this specific cluster Kube API, and if it is reachable, then the test is passed, and we get this green snack bar message. And if it doesn't, like I don't know why we are not getting it, but ideally we should see a error message. So that's about it. And currently you can see there are no errors. So ideally it should deploy. So okay, it deployed. So basically I should have changed the name, but because we usually have a default namespace, but yeah. So now there are two modes to mesh map. One is designer, the other one is visualizer. Designer is where you will design your infrastructure. Basically, you'll like connect different things. Let's say you want a deployment for your app. Um, let's say I have a deployment and I have a namespace in under which I want to deploy this application. So I'll bring it here. Now, okay, so now there are few things which are happening, like, so I can actually put this deployment inside of this namespace. Now this is actually context aware design. What it means is like based on what context you are, the design will actually try to link different components within themselves so that like visually you should understand what's happening. So that's like the main point of all this thing is, and you can like have a pod. Generally you might want a pod in your application. You can have that. So basically it's just about it. You can bring more things, like you want a service so that your application is exposed on the internet. So you will search service. Like you can also see like there are different other integrations that Meshery has. Like I think this is from Ambassador Labs. This is like this is from AWS, I think. So there are different things. Currently we can just think about Kubernetes because it's generally easier to grok. So let's say I have a Kubernetes service. Now the best part is like you'll see like there are these things coming up. Now what these are is like these are different relationships that you can make to like further enhance your environment. So like ideally what you have to do is like you have to like write a big YAML file where you have to write all these different key value pairs to design this thing. But currently you can just do it visually, like you're playing, so you can just quickly do it, drag and drop and stuff like that. So let's say I want to connect it. So now the best part is like as you can see the specific thing got like darkened because I cannot connect to it, but I can connect to this thing because it's highlighted. So that's another thing. So as you can see, it got connected. Now I can just change the port at which I want to expose it. So any port I like, I can change the protocol. I can change the color. Like these are quite cool thing which was recently added. You can also like change the other things like how it should look, stuff like that. You can just keep on doing this and you won't stop. So basically it's about that. So now once I'll, and yeah, the main thing is you can actually do it collaboratively. That means like more than one person can actually design the same thing. That's the thing. I think just join me on this design, so we can actually do it together. He'll help me handle some areas and I can do other things, so you can do it faster. And like there are other amazing things, like you can write a comment so that it can help you in review process. And there are a lot of other things. You can like have a section. These are like annotation. They don't have any like semantic meaning to your infrastructure, but just to group logical things, you can use that. Like there are the shapes. Um, like if you have a GCP environment, so for that you'll have different things which are just in GCP. So for supporting that, Meshery has these specific shapes, but Meshery also has like meaningful components which will actually deploy. So these are the two different things, but these are explained documentation as well. But in case you are wondering, so you can add a text box, you can write anything, demo, build in these. So yeah, you can also join this design. It's quite amazing. Like one other things is like you can share this design. So I think 1 second. I think I might have a bad session. Refresh. So basically there's an option to share the design. So you can not only share the design with your team members, you can actually send it to somebody. You can export the design into a YAML file. If in case you want to like integrated with your existing systems. So Meshery is quite extensible. Like there's no vendor lock and stuff like that. And you can import the design as well. So from here, Meshery actually support different kind of import scenarios. Like you can bring in your Helm charts, you can bring in your Kubernetes manifest, or you can bring in your Docker Compose file. So any of that already existing files, application can be directly um, supported by Meshery. Like recently we added support for OCI as well. that would means like you can, once you create a design, you can push it to any of the registry like Docker Hub and Artifact Hub, AWS ECR, stuff like that. So what I was saying was, yeah, there's one more thing, like you can also publish it to catalog. Catalog is like a public facing a view where generally highly curated designs are available for people to use. So like before going there, let's say if I want to share it to someone, so I can just like write their email. So basically you can just click their name and they will actually get an email. So any of your team members, you can just send it, or you can share a link. So like if I copied the link and share it with you all, and then you can like directly jump onto the design as well. So this is just one other thing. And the best part of, like, similar thing happens for comments as well. So you can just, when you comment, like people who are part of the conversation, like Yash can explain that much better because he implemented that. But basically it's about like ensuring all the different members are in sync. So it's very similar to Google Doc. So when you create a comment in Google Doc, generally people who are part of the conversation get an email. So yeah, that's about it. And you have a catalog where, like, if let's say you don't know and you are not you're not you don't have much knowledge about how to get started and you don't have any of the existing designs, so what you can do is you can use these published designs and just get started with them. Let's say Guestbook app, it's like quite known sample application. So if you click on that, it will actually, this is a design which you can actually clone. Generally you cannot make any edits to these. And yeah, so because it's a public facing thing, so you can clone it from here, and then you have your own copy of the design, and then you can use. So yeah, these are just little high level things. We can of course talk about a lot of different things as well, but this is just few things. Has any questions? Shubham, does it explain well, or you have any
Yeah, yeah,
other?
yeah, 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 yeah. It was very nice. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll just go
Mhm.
through the documentation of this. I wanted to contribute on Playground, or I just wanted to explore some, like creating some designs on Playground. So I just wanted a
Mhm.
little help. Yeah, but thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody has any other questions on this topic? Okay. Okay, so we can discuss a couple of volunteers item that I wanted to discuss. So let's discuss few things. Let's say like I was just talking about Meshery has Helm charts for giving Kubernetes user ability to deploy Meshery using Helm environment. So let's say if you go to install and you go to Kubernetes Helm, you'll see there are two charts. One is for Meshery operator, the other one is for Meshery. You can read what Meshery operator is, but in a high level overview, it's a custom controller that helps Meshery to manage its resources. So Meshery operator actually manages meshing and Meshery broker. So you can read, but meshing is like um it's like a machine which tracks different resources, different events which are happening in your cluster. And Meshery broker is like a messaging framework which actually sends the messages from meshing to Meshery server. And there is a separate start from Meshery. Meshery is just all the things which we do. But basically, the thing which you were seeing right now was Meshery. Meshery operator meshing what behind the scenes. So let me show you then. So if we go to connections lifecycle, we click on Kubernetes, so you'll see operator meshing. So basically, this is a connections page. What this is like, it actually gives you overview of different connections that you have. Now there are things like you can share the connection as well, but we'll put that for some other day. So basically you'll see operator meshing NATs. This is Meshery broker. This is meshing and this is operator. So whenever you deploy Meshery in a Kubernetes environment, so Meshery actually auto deploys operator. The work of operator is to actually deploy meshing and adds Meshery broker. So when meshing comes in, boots up, it actually start to discover different resources in my cluster. So resources are like namespaces, deployments, pods, services, and almost everything which is in a cluster. It realizes that and sends it to Meshery server through the meshing framework Meshery broker. And when Meshery receives all that, it saves everything in the local database. So the advantage of saving all this in local database, it's like a local cache. It helps Meshery to actually save all that and show in the UI. So all the things which we were seeing, let me show again. So if you go to visualizer, all the things which you're seeing here is like sent by meshing. Now, other things which meshing helps is it's like actually starting like session. Okay, one second. Like they're like if you have a pod, you can actually do SSH directly from this environment. You can see you can not only SSH, you can also see the logs. Let me try to show you that. If I see pod, so basically once you have pod, you can there is an option to do SSH. If you don't know what SSH is, it's like getting directly inside of the directory and seeing different things, which basically seeing the file system of the pod. So let's see. So oh, I think this should work. Based on the basically this is the place where you'll see like the logs as well as the terminal to do like list, see, create directories and do other things. I think there's some issue with
Uh,
this container. Yes.
so Pranav, so can you also like go into your cluster and use like execute some kubectl commands like this, or that isn't possible at the moment?
See,
For example, if you
like
want,
it depends
yeah,
like
go on.
what command, like what action you want to perform. Ideally, the whole idea is like you don't need to go back to the terminal because everything should be allowed to be managed directly from this UI. So that's the main thing. But like if you can specify what action you want to perform, then we can
Yeah, I
discuss.
was just like wondering that we can like like we have the functionality to get into a pod and access the file system there and like, execute something. So I was just wondering whether there's like a way to access a cluster, like go into the master node and access kubectl through kubectl through it. It was just something I was wondering. I don't know, like I don't have a use case
Yeah,
for it, I think.
okay, okay. Like it depends. Like if you have any suggestion, you can post in a discussion forum. Ideally, like whatever you would want to do, you can do it directly from here. So there isn't a need to go there. But yeah,
Oh,
if you
okay.
have any suggestion, we can discuss that on discussion forum and post it
Mhm.
here. Okay, so this is another view. Like this is a tabular view of what we were saying. That was a visual view, basically context aware view. This is just a tabular view of what different resources are discovered. So like namespaces, like people might have created all these. You can see the months, how long they are there. So workloads, different deployments, daemons, and all that stuff. And if you click on any of them, you can see more details about that, like metadata, like match labels, basically the labels that are applied, spec of that. This is actually the exact same thing which you might see when you do kubectl describe like pod. I think this is a deployment. So kubectl, if you write kubectl describe, then deploy, basically the kind and then the name of this. So you'll see the exact same thing, but it's showing, you can see it from here as well. So you don't have to do that now. So that's the thing. Okay, so okay, I think I got deviated. I was about to talk about something which was this. Okay. Okay. So what I was about to talk about is like the need for like versioning them. So what the problem is, you'll see this is due to some reason this is stuck at .6, but we are on .7.10. So what they ask is to actually make sure whenever we make a new release, these values updated. So we have tried updating it, but due to some reason, this again, as you can see, we tried to update it to .7, but there is some issue wherein it get reverted back to .6, and that's the issue which we need to solve. So, so before moving forward, I want to ask if someone want to volunteer for this, looking into why this is reverting back to .6 and how we can improve it to version on every release. Any volunteers?
Uh, Yes, sir.
You can also
I'm
help in creating an issue. I don't think there is an issue for this.
I'm just like if it's still I'm working on something, but
Okay.
like if it's available after this, I think I'll be able to take a
Mhm.
look at this and try to solve it. But I'm not
So,
like promising anything at this.
okay. So in case you want to, then you can write your name here. And like once you create an issue, you can give a link to here so that
Oh,
we can
okay.
like
Okay.
assign it to someone. Okay, the next thing is there if you go back to the Helm chart, there's one more issue like if you go to templates, you'll see this virtual service. I think this is not required for the deployment of Meshery. This is just a resource of Istio. So yeah, like there's an ask of removing the resources which are for Istio but not required by Meshery. So in case you would like to work on this is another area of help. So yeah, in case someone would like to volunteer for this, you can either tell now or comment later on. So yes, this was already fixed. And this issue, I think Rupal was looking into. Rupal, do you have any suggestion for this? I think the issue is like we are not fetching latest changes before committing, so that's the reason it's failing. And okay, so he might went away, so nobody's. So if someone wants to work on this, look into why we are not able to commit. It's likely just that we're not fetching before pushing. We are not pulling before pushing, so that's the reason. But yeah, if anybody would like to volunteer for this, it's also open. So, or you can also help in fixing that failing workflow issue adapter. So, which I just showed, like if you go to actions, as you can see, this E2 test is failing right now. So if someone would like to volunteer for looking into this is another area of help. I'll write it here. So those are a couple of things. So that's from my side. Anybody has any questions before we conclude for today?
So I think this question is related to the workflow that I think we discussed in the beginning. I was just going through it. I just wanted that you guys run it on Minikube, right? The
Yep.
test of first year. Yeah. Okay. So I just want to ask you whether Istio is a sorry Minikube is a valid, like for example, does it give you the confidence that for example, if you're testing something on Minikube, does it give you confidence that it will run or behave the same way as on like AKS or some other cluster?
Like ideally, the name it's just that distribution names are different. I internally on according to me, I think like the working is exactly same because once you deploy something in a cluster, let's
No,
say
no,
if you want to yeah,
no,
Meshery,
no, no,
then you will.
continue.
Mhm. So when you deploy Meshery, you likely have a service, and this service will, which is for broker, and that service is always like if whether you deploy in your AWS or deploy Minikube, you'll always have the service. So it just like depends upon your distribution of your choice, but the internal working is same. There's actually documentation as well, which if you check the docs, it actually explains how you can deploy on. I think it's for EKS, so you can check that.
Okay. I guess. No, I was
Mhm.
asking this because I think I was like I think I've read somewhere that Minikube doesn't give you like access to, for example, load balancers behave differently because like in a cloud environment,
Yeah,
load
yeah, yeah. That's
so
that's just what I was. The things are available, just that it's a little difficult to do in open source thing. For managed thing, it's like managed by your provider, so you don't have to do anything. So is that's the only difference.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, if
that
you
makes sense.
use Docker Desktop, it also provides you Kubernetes. So it also comes with exact same things. So let me just show you. If you go to this place, you'll see Kubernetes. If I just click on this and do a restart, it will actually deploy cluster in my system. So I
Yeah,
don't have
but
to do anything. Yeah.
yeah, it will also use Minikube, right? Yeah, under
No,
the
it
hood.
doesn't use Minikube. I don't think so.
Oh, okay. I think I had the
Minikube is
understanding that
different.
that's
Okay.
oh, okay. Yeah, I might be wrong.
So yeah. So yeah, that's my side. So if so we are already on the top of our hour, and I think we covered everything. So should we discuss anything or important, or anybody has anything else to discuss? Otherwise, we can conclude.
Yeah, Pranav, I have one thing. Like for the call of the volunteers, the first issue that was the permission issue. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of look into it, and the solution I reach is that it is the master branch of Meshery is protected.
Mm-hmm.
So we can only, I think, we can only make a pull request to it. We
Mm-hmm.
can't just directly push changes into it.
Okay. Actually, there are a couple of other workflows as well which does the same thing. So I'll confirm that. Thank you for looking into it. I don't
Okay.
know if there is a branch protection, but yeah, I'll check that. Okay.
Okay. No, it is also shown in the logs, like
Okay.
line number 74. Remote rejected, master to master, protected branch hook declined.
Okay. I'll confirm that. Like if we use a specific user token which has the permission, then it shouldn't reject it. But yeah, I'll check that. Thank you for looking into it. Would you like to create
Okay.
an issue so that it's remained in history and we don't miss out? You can
So
explain
for
what you
sure.
have found, and yeah, so then we can discuss.
Okay, for sure.
Okay, thank you. So I think that's all for today. Thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next week for Meshy development call. And for this week, for this specific call, we'll see you in about 2 weeks because this is a bi-weekly call. So yeah, thank you all. Bye.